Hello, I'm Doug DeWitt, Transfer Paper Product Manager here at Conde Systems. Welcome to today's video, which is calibrating your heat press to use Imageclip t-shirt transfer papers supplied by Neenah Paper Company. I've assisted a lot of clients over the past few years with this step because it is the most crucial step in getting Imageclip transfer paper to work. What we basically have to do is become very familiar with our heat press. So what we're going to do is we're going to queue up some transfers, print them out, and then we're going to go over to the heat press to show you the steps that you need to go through to calibrate your press. By giving you examples of what to look for from the output, you should be able to determine if you're using the product successfully, and hopefully it'll help you eliminate a lot of errors and cost overruns. So let me go ahead, send some paper through the printer, and I'll meet you at the heat press and we'll get started. Now that we're here at our heat press, let's talk about the importance of getting familiar with your particular heat press. For demonstration purposes today, I'm going to use this GeoNite DK20S. It's a 16-inch by 20-inch manual swing-away heat press. The reason I'm going to use this particular press is because we have actually taken the temperature off the heat platen, and we know that this press is accurate plus or minus 2 degrees from what our display reads. So if you have a brand new press, what you might want to do is take an accurate temperature reading, not going by what the monitor or the display tells you. The most accurate way to get a reading is with a laser thermometer. But essentially what we've got to learn is our heat press accurate? Is the temperature running hotter than what it's telling us, or is it running lower? That way we can compensate to make sure that we use the paper successfully. Another thing that we have to figure out is our definition of pressures. When it comes to the Imageclip papers, most of the papers are applied with a light or medium pressure in the first step, but everybody has a different definition of what light, medium, or heavy pressure is. So what I'm going to do here is quickly demonstrate what I am using as light, medium, or heavy. A light pressure, I'm able to shut the handle with just a few fingers. It locks in easily. A medium pressure, I feel a little bit of resistance in the handle before it snaps shut. Heavy pressure, I literally have to stand on top of the press to shut it. So those are my definitions of light, medium, and heavy pressure. So now let's go ahead and calibrate this particular press. First thing we're going to do is I'm going to loosen my manual pressure knob until I'm able to shut the press with a couple of fingers. There we go. That should be a light pressure. When it comes to setting the temperature on your press, the first paper we're going to use is the Imageclip Laser Light. It requires 210 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, presses do have a tendency to fluctuate in temperature from time to time, just like your oven at home. There's no way it can stay at one constant temperature. So what I do is I will set my press a degree or two higher than 210 degrees. The acceptable temperature range for applying the emulsion with the Imageclip Laser Light is between 210 to 215 degrees Fahrenheit. So whenever you're using the Imageclip Laser Light, before you drop your heat press, pay close attention to the temperature readout. If your temperature readout is below 210 degrees Fahrenheit, do not drop the press. You will not get a good result. If the temperature is above 215 degrees Fahrenheit, do not drop the press. You will not get a good result. But since we're teaching you what to look for in regards to calibrating your press, we're going to go through some goof-ups before we actually get the press calibrated. First thing I'm going to demonstrate is what happens when the pressure is set to light. I will take my printed Imageclip Laser Light sheet, laying it face up. Whenever you're calibrating your press, pay attention to where you put the transfers down. You want to put the transfers on the same spot every time on your press. It'll help you calibrate. I'll take my green weeding sheet that has the emulsion, lay it over my press, and so we will do our first attempt. My temperature is at 215 degrees right now, so I should be okay. Let's go 215 degrees, 10 seconds with a light pressure, and let's see the finished result. Here is our first attempt of weeding the Imageclip laser light at 215 degrees, 10 seconds with a very light pressure. As you can see in this area here, this is the emulsion that's applied to the printed toner. But as you can also see from the laser pointer here, we have lots of areas of what I'm going to refer to as dropout, where the emulsion did not apply. Now, let's look at the transfer sheet that actually applied the emulsion. As you can see, our transfer sheet is relatively clean. There's no toner that moved from the imaging sheet over to this transfer sheet. So let's do a if-and scenario. If you see dropout of this magnitude, yet no toner moves from the transfer sheet over to the imaging sheet, this means your temperature or your pressure is too light. And so now I'm going to go to my heat press and I'm going to tighten my heat press 1 full revolution turn, as so. I'll take some more Imageclip laser light and we'll make another attempt to properly calibrate the press. Here is our second attempt of applying the emulsion to the Imageclip laser light after we increased our pressure 1 full revolution turn on our DK20S heat press. As you will notice here, we have much better emulsion laydown than our first attempt. However, using my laser pointer, you will still see spots here and here where the emulsion did not apply. Notice that these spots are smaller than 1/4 inch diameter. Now, when we look at the transfer sheet that applied the emulsion, we see no toner residue that moved from our imaging sheet to our transfer sheet. This means that our pressure is still light, but we're getting close. If I have dropout spots that are bigger than 1/4 inch, I would increase my pressure 1 full revolution turn. But since these dropout spots are small and smaller than 1/4 inch diameter, this means I only have to increase my pressure by half a revolution turn, and we should be accurate and calibrated. So I'm going to go back to my press, and again I'm going to increase or tighten the pressure, but this time 1/2 revolution turn. This should be enough to make sure that we get a good, accurate laydown with our emulsion sheet. We should have the press calibrated at this point. I'm going to put some more Imageclip laser light down and let's give it another try. Here is our third attempt of calibrating our heat press using Imageclip laser light transfer paper. As you can see in our third attempt, we have the emulsion applied to all areas of our toner. This is a good result. While the camera may not be able to pick it up, what I do see here is a little bit of excess emulsion that was applied in areas where it should not belong. While this transfer is acceptable, we might have to clean it up a little. So if I were to back off on my pressure slightly on my next attempt, we would probably have our press perfectly calibrated. If you want to know if you've got your press calibrated, take a look at the transfer sheet when you pull it off of the press. If you hold the transfer sheet up to the light, you should see a perfect negative of your original design. Whenever you see some slight excess emulsion around the areas where it does not belong, this excess emulsion will appear to look granular, as if sand is stuck to the transfer sheet. This transfer sheet can be salvaged. What we need to do is take a straight edge, like a squeegee, and gently scrape off those areas of excess emulsion. Now this transfer is ready to be applied. So remember, when you're using the Imageclip laser light, remember this image as a target as to what to look for. What you want to see is a haze or emulsion over your entire area of printed transfer. yet the granules or excess emulsion around the design should be minimum. Whenever you're calibrating your press, it's always better to err on the side of a little too much pressure than not enough. The dropout spots that you saw in our first two attempts, if we were to apply those transfers to t-shirts, those dropout spots would literally appear as dropout in your image, and your shirt is probably ruined. Yet, if you get a little excess emulsion around your design, as I showed you, it can be scraped off, and this transfer can be applied, and it's going to look great. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the heat press, and let me show you some symptoms of applying too much heat or too much pressure so you know what to look for. Now that we've shown you what the symptoms are of not enough heat or not enough pressure from our previous attempts, what I want to do at this point is show you what happens when you apply too much heat or pressure to this Imageclip laser light. What we're going to do here is we're going to lay down another transfer. Again, I'm going to keep my transfer center on my press. It makes it easier to calibrate. I'm going to take my transfer sheet, lay it over my imaging sheet, and this time I'm going to swing the press over, but I'm going to apply way too much pressure. When the press is done, I'll peel away the two sheets and we'll take a look at the finished results. Here is another attempt using the Imageclip laser light. I purposely set my pressure too high to demonstrate this. Notice that we have emulsion applied over the printed transfer, but the emulsion is not as thick as what we saw on our previous attempt, which was a good attempt. If we feel around the edges, we feel a lot of excess emulsion. I see a lot of granules around this design. The important telltale factor is the transfer sheet that we just pulled. Notice we have toner that has physically moved from the imaging sheet to the transfer sheet. Whenever you see this symptom of toner physically moving from one sheet to the other after you peel the two away, this means that your pressure is too high or your temperature is too high. So you need to check those. Odds are, if you have your temperature correct, it's probably your pressure, and you should back off one full revolution turn on your next attempt. Now that we've covered Imageclip laser light, let me show you how to calibrate your heat press for another Imageclip product called Concert T paper. As you can see here with our Concert T, we have two sheets. The blue grid imaging sheet, which runs through the printer or copier, the orange grid transfer sheet, which applies the white base emulsion. When it comes to using your heat press to transfer the emulsion to your toner, we need our temperature range to be somewhere between 240 and 250 degrees Fahrenheit. Again, what I will do is I will set my press at about 244 degrees. That way, if there's any fluctuation, I'm covered. But what I'm going to do is make sure that before I drop the handle, I'll look at the temperature of my press. If my temperature is below 240 degrees Fahrenheit, I will not drop the press down on the paper. If my temperature is above 250 degrees Fahrenheit, I will not drop the press down. Again, pay attention to your temperature. But let's go ahead and reset this press so we can run through the same calibration steps with the Concert T paper. I'm going to loosen up on my pressure until I can lock in my handle with two fingers, like so. I'm going to take my printed transfer sheet that has my image, mirror to reverse, and again, center it on my press. Take my imaging sheet, which has the white base emulsion, lay it over my transfer sheet, pay attention to my temperature. I'm at 244 degrees, so I'm good. Let's go ahead and press this for 20 seconds. You notice my pressure is a very light pressure. I was able to close it with two fingers. When the press is done, I'm going to peel away the two sheets and we'll show you the finished result. Here's our first attempt of calibrating our press using Imageclip Concert T paper. What we're looking for is a solid white base over our printed toner. But as you can see here, I have large areas of dropout in my image. Over here on the transfer sheet, I could literally see the corresponding spots where the emulsion didn't apply. There is no toner that moved from our imaging sheet to our transfer sheet. This tells me that my pressure is set too light. Because my spots are bigger than 1/4 of an inch diameter, I will increase the pressure 1 full revolution turn. I'll go ahead and put a new transfer and imaging sheet down, and we'll do a second attempt with this increased pressure, and I'll show you the finished result. Here is my second attempt of calibrating my press using Imageclip Concert T. I increased my pressure 1 full revolution turn from my first attempt, and as you can see from my laser pointer here, the coverage is much better as far as the white base covering the black toner. I still have a few dropout spots in the image. If we were to attempt to transfer this image to a t-shirt, these spots here would literally appear as dropout spots within the design. But since these spots are smaller than 1/4 of an inch diameter, it basically tells me my pressure is close. I'm not there yet, but close. What I would need to do is tighten my pressure, but this time 1/2 of a revolution turn. This should get this press calibrated for the Imageclip Concert T. So, I will take another imaging sheet, make sure I center it on my heat press. I will take another transfer sheet, place it over my image, check my temperature. I'm at 246 degrees Fahrenheit, so I'm between 240 and 250. And I will drop the press down for 20 seconds. I should feel a little bit of resistance in the handle before the handle snaps in. So what we're going to do is we're going to let this count down, and then once the timer goes off, we'll peel away the 2 sheets and show you the finished result. Here's my third attempt of calibrating the press using Imageclip Concert T. As we can see in this design, we have a solid white base over our printed toner, which is the result we're looking for. I want to check around the design where the transfer sheet was in contact with the imaging sheet. Sometimes if you have a little bit too much pressure, you might see a fine line of emulsion around your design. Remember, you could scrape away that excess emulsion with a straight edge. If you want to double check your results, take a look at the transfer sheet that you just pulled off. If you hold this transfer sheet up to the light, you should see a perfect negative of your original design. If you see no gaps around your design, that means you have your press calibrated and this transfer is ready to be applied. Before we finish using the Imageclip Concert T paper, I want to show you what happens when you apply too much heat or too much pressure to Imageclip Concert T. I'm going to leave my temperature the same, but I'm going to increase my pressure. So let's grab another transfer, take our white base emulsion sheet, and let's apply too much pressure to the Imageclip Concert T. When the timer goes off, I'll peel the 2 sheets away and I'll show you the finished result. This is what will happen to Imageclip Concert T if you apply too much heat or pressure. As you can see from my laser pointer here, we have dropout spots in the emulsion where we could still see the original color of the toner. Yet we had toner move from the imaging sheet over to the transfer sheet. So make a note, whenever you see toner physically move from your imaging sheet to your transfer sheet, that means you are applying too much heat or too much pressure. Now that we've covered the Imageclip Laser Light and Imageclip Concert T, there is one more Imageclip paper in the family that we need to discuss, and that's Imageclip Laser Dark. Now, when it comes to Imageclip Laser Dark, what you will notice from the instructions is the instructions call for the same time and same temperature that you would use on Concert T. So in other words, if you're able to calibrate your press to use Concert T paper, you can use the same settings for Imageclip Laser Dark and it should work properly. However, since I purposely increased the pressure of my press to demonstrate what happens when you use too much pressure, now I have to recalibrate my press again. So let's run through the same technique to make sure that we get it right. I'm going to swing my press down, loosen the pressure until I can close it with 2 fingers. Okay. I want to make sure that my temperature range is between 240 and 250 degrees Fahrenheit for the Imageclip Laser Dark. Just like the Concert T paper, if you see the temperature below 240 degrees, do not drop your press on the papers. If your temperature reading is above 250 degrees, again, do not drop the press. You will not get good results. But what we'll do is we will take an image sheet of the Imageclip Laser Dark, again with a mirror to reversed image, and we're going to center the sheet on our press just like the previous attempts. We will take the transfer sheet that has a gold grid back that applies the white base emulsion, center it, swing our press over, check our temperature. My temperature is at 244 degrees Fahrenheit, which is in a good range. So I'll go ahead and drop the press, and let's see how close we are to calibrating with Imageclip Laser Dark. We're going to go for 20 seconds, and when the timer's up, we'll peel away the 2 sheets while they're warm, and I'll show you the finished result. Here's our first attempt of calibrating our heat press using the Imageclip Laser Dark. As you can see, I'm looking for a white base over my printed toner. But in these areas here and here, I have some dropout. If I were to look at my transfer sheet, I can see the corresponding spots. Now, because these dropout spots are smaller than 1/4 of an inch, what that means is that I'm close to calibrating my press. I need to apply a little bit more pressure, but I am close. So, I'm going to recalibrate my press by tightening the pressure 1/2 of a revolution turn. This should give me a good result. So, I'll take an imaging sheet, again, placing it dead center. Make sure you stay consistent. Take my transfer sheet, lay it over. Now here, my temperature is at 251 degrees. So, let me swing it out for just a second to see if the heat press will drop down. Like I said, these fluctuations in the temperature of the press you need to pay attention to. You only want to drop the press down on the Concert T or Laser Dark paper if your temperature range is between 240 and 250 degrees. My temperature's right at 250. So let's go ahead, lock the press in. As you'll notice, I felt a little bit of resistance in the handle before my press locked into position. I'm heating these 2 papers together for 20 seconds. When the timer goes off, we'll peel the 2 sheets away while they're still warm, and we'll show you the finished result. Here is our second attempt of calibrating our press using the Imageclip Laser Dark paper. I increased my pressure 1/2 revolution turn from the first attempt because my dropout spots were less than 1/4 of an inch diameter. As you can see, by just increasing the pressure 1/2 of a revolution turn, I now have a good solid coverage of the white base over my printed toner. As I look around the design, especially where the edge of the transfer sheet touched the imaging sheet, I see no excess emulsion. If you were to see that line around your design, you can either scrape it away with a straight edge or take a paper cutter to trim away that excess. But this design here is ready to be applied to a garment and should produce a beautiful result. We showed you what happens to Imageclip Laser Dark whenever the pressure on your heat press is set too light. You get the dropout spots in your design where no white base was applied. We increased our pressure, at first a full revolution turn and then another half revolution turn, and we got a good result. But now I want to show you what happens when you apply too much pressure to Imageclip Laser Dark. So I'll take another printed imaging sheet, take a transfer sheet, again making sure that they're centered. I'm going to leave the temperature the same, but I'm going to apply way too much pressure. If you have to lean on your manual heat press to lock the platen in position, odds are you're probably using a little too much pressure with this product. But we'll let the timer count down, we'll peel away the two sheets, and we'll show you the finished result. Here is our last attempt on the Imageclip Laser Dark paper. As you saw, I purposely cranked the pressure too high to show you what to look for whenever you have your pressure set too high on your press. Again, you will see dropout within the design, where you could still see the original color of the toner. We do not have a solid white base. But unlike the symptom where the pressure is too light, we can tell the pressure is too heavy here because we had toner that physically moved from the imaging sheet to the transfer sheet. Remember, if you see this symptom, odds are your pressure is set too heavy or your temperature was too high. So now let's quickly review what we learned today in regard to calibrating our heat press for the Imageclip transfer papers. You always want to make sure that you're within an acceptable temperature range. If the temperature is too low or too high, do not drop your heat press. You're not going to get a good result. When it comes to calibrating your press, you want to start with a very light pressure. As you saw, I was able to close the press with 2 fingertips whenever I started my calibration process, and I increased the pressure from there. I want to keep working up in pressure until I get the result that I'm looking for. Remember, when you see dropout in your design, but there is no toner moving from the imaging sheet to the transfer sheet, that usually means that your pressure is too light. Whenever you have toner that physically moves from the imaging sheet to the transfer sheet, your pressure or your temperature is too heavy and you need to back off. Whenever those dropout spots are smaller than 1/4 inch, it usually only takes a slight increase in pressure to get your press calibrated. The more you work with your press and the more you work with the papers, the better you'll get at it. But if you have any questions regarding how to calibrate your press for the Imageclip papers, or if you need any additional information, don't hesitate to contact us directly at 1-800-826-6332, or you can visit our website at www.condi.com. And make sure you tune in to Condi TV for more useful tutorial videos. My name's Doug DeWitt, Transfer Paper Product Manager here at Condi Systems. My time is up. Now thank you for yours.